panel. So we have Ali from Sbdc. Bianca, I think, will be joining us shortly, and myself, Vic Farley, here from the Office of Economic Development. And this is the slide deck we'll go through. Here's the agenda for the next hour. The introductions, will let you know who Small Business Majority is, who Sbdc are in a moment with Ali. What is the California Relief Fund? We'll give you a quick recap. Where are we now? Because we've had round one and we're just about to start round two next week. So this is a really good kind of insight and preparation time for you as a business owner before you have to apply next week. What are the key dates we're looking at? Who's eligible to apply? If you're a new applicant, what are the things to consider? The grant values, and some top tips. We'd like to give you some top tips on how to make your application in the light of some of the experiences that I know many businesses have had in trying to make an application during round one, because it's been very difficult at times with the Lendistry platform to be able to get everything done, all the documents put scanned and uploaded, etc. We'll then get into the Q&A, and at the end of it, I've got some links for you so you know you've got all the information in one place. Small Business Majority. Let me just check, because if Bianca is here, I'd like her to introduce herself.
Okay.
No, I can't see her. Ali, let me just quickly whiz through Small Business Majority. I think we'll come back to them in a minute. But Ali, would you want to introduce Small Business Development Center?
Sure. So the Small Business Development Center of Silicon Valley, we provide one-on-one advising as well as free and low-cost workshops. All of our services are free. Our website is sbdc.org. It's easy to sign up. Whether you're starting a business or trying to grow it, survive COVID, we're all here to help you with that. Next slide. Who has control? Vic?
I do. I'm trying to move it down. Sorry about that.
So what does Sbdc do? We provide access to information and resources to help you sustain and grow your business, as well as start your business. So if I don't really suggest you start now, but it depends on your business model. But we are able to help you with every aspect of a small business. So one of our fundamental services is access to capital. We do work with many banks, credit unions, alternative lenders like Lendistry, which is a CDFI. We help package your loan. We will review your grant application before you submit it. We are assisting currently with the Eidl, the relief grant, the PPP forgiveness, and there are additional grants and loans that are coming through the pipeline, and we could assist you with that, as well as traditional 7A and 504 loans.
Yeah.
Next. So again, we only serve Santa Clara County, so Silicon Valley SBDC.org. If you would like an SBDC, you're outside of Santa Clara County, just either email Vic or myself, and I could give you our NorCal office so you could find your regional or your local SBDC if you're not in Santa Clara County.
Very good, thank you, Ali. Let's move on into the presentation itself. Okay, well, let's start with the obvious. What is the California Relief Fund? It's a business grant program, and these grants are not repayable. And the amount that the grant could be awarded is at a minimum $5,000 and a maximum $25,000, and the minimum and the medium is $15,000. So it's either going to be one of $5,000, $15,000, or $25,000. Now the funds that are available through the governor and the state of California have been split equally into two rounds. So round one that finished a couple of weeks ago had $237 million, and round two, which is about to start next week, will have the same amount of money, $237 million. That's what's going to be available in round two. There's also some conversation going on between the governor and the state assembly with respect to the budget that the state of California has to agree for next year. And part of that discussion includes more money for this California Relief Fund. And that's a reflection, I believe, of the numbers of businesses across the state. Some over 300,000 applications were received in round one. It's a very, very substantial number, as you can imagine, and we'll come into that in more detail in a minute. Key point, and a lot of people have asked me in the course of the last few weeks, is the relief fund based on a first come, first served program? No, it's not. The important point is to be able to complete your application in full before the deadline. And it's only once the deadline has passed do the funder, Lendistry, then screen and make a decision on your application. So it's not a first come, first served program. Where are we now? Let's just sum it all up. If you try to apply in round one, and I know many of you here probably participating in this webinar did, but you weren't able to finish your application, you can complete your application anytime now through to February the 8th. But be sure to return your application using the existing link in your password email. And there's been a lot of issues to do with the use of that link and how the password emails have worked. And it's been a source of frustration, I know. And if you have any doubts in your mind about whether your application was completed or that you received an email from Lendistry confirming that your application has been received, please contact Lendistry on their telephone line. I can check that line number out and give it to you during the course of this webinar. It's a very frustrating experience from what people have said to me. You can wait for a very long time. So if you need other advice and you don't want to use that route, then I would recommend getting in contact either with Ali at Sbdc or another technical assistance provider to check that out. The application process for round one closed on January 13th, and Lendistry are now sending out approval notifications through to January the 21st. If your organization qualified as an eligible applicant in round one, but were not selected, you do not have to reapply. Your application will automatically be considered in round two. Now, you know that if you've had an email telling you from Lendistry what the outcome was of your application. And there were only 3 outcomes. One is you were approved. Congratulations, that means you'll be getting a grant award. Secondly, you've been rejected. Or thirdly, you're going to be put on a wait list, which means you'll be considered in round 2. If you didn't receive an email, and I assume you've checked very carefully to make sure there's nothing in your junk folder, or you've used an incorrect email address, nothing like that, then you've got to go back to Lendistry. And I would recommend you do that before the second round starts. So somewhere between now and Friday, I would suggest, if that's possible, please do that. Now, Lendistry will be notifying applicants that were not eligible for grants. In effect, the whole of the program will finish by February the 24th. That's their aim. Whether they can achieve that, I don't know for sure, because obviously I'm not part of Lendistry, but that is their intention. What they want to do is clear all of the round 1 applications and all of the round 2 applications by February the 24th. And as I say, if you haven't started an application, sorry, if you did start an application but didn't complete it, then you may do so, but it has to be done. The very last date will be February the 8th. Oh, I can see Bianca's joined us now. Hello, Bianca. I'll introduce you in a moment, if I may. Let me just go on to the next slide.
Really quick, Vic, can I just make one comment about the wait list?
Of course, yes, please do so.
Okay, and I was here. I was in another dimension. I apologize. So I was listening. Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for having us. One note about the waitlisted. So you're right. There are 3 categories. However, we did learn that folks may be selected in round 1 So if you're waitlisted, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll go to round 2. It's possible that you could be selected for round 1 payments.
If you're not sure, if you're a business owner who made an application and you're not quite sure what the outcome was, perhaps we'll take that into the Q&A, because I think there'll probably be a lot of questions there about what should I do? Should I reapply? Should I just wait to hear? Is there something I've done wrong I need to check? I know a lot of business owners are worried about that point, and we'll try and come back to that, Bianca, because that's a really good point to have made. Here are the key dates. Round 2 opens 9 a.m. February the 2nd and closes 4:59 p.m., so just before 5 p.m. on February the 8th. Notifications will start to be distributed, being sent out from February the 11th onwards. And then we've got these 2 other dates, February the 22nd and February the 24th. And if Lendistry stick to this timetable, then the whole process is complete, as I've already mentioned, by February the 24th. I know there's a lot of people here that want to ask questions. I will take every question that we go through at the end, and we will get to all of them, I can assure you. So who's eligible to apply? Well, almost every type of business in truth, but your business must have a physical location in the state of California. It can't be that your business is located in Nevada, but most of your customers are in California. You do actually have to be physically located in the state. You've got to have been actively trading since before June the 1st. Your gross revenues, this is the key bit. Your gross revenues must be under $2.5 million, gross annual revenues. And you must have been financially impacted by COVID. That's relatively straightforward. All types of incorporated businesses are eligible. Undocumented owners with an ITIN number are eligible. Home-based businesses can apply. That's very important. We have a lot of home-based businesses here in the city of San Jose. The self-employed can apply. Again, a lot of people are self-employed here in the city. And certain types of non-profits, the 501(c)(3) and C6, as they're known, non-profit organizations can also apply. And very significantly, particularly given that we've now got the new PPP program back in action, and many of you will be applying, I'm sure, for a new PPP loan, you are eligible to apply for this business grant, irrespective of whether you have or have not applied for a PPP, or in fact other forms of federal stimulus loan programs like Eidl. All important, and we've tried to cover them in recent weeks with our webinar series to get people up to date with what's happening there. So importantly, this business grant, you're eligible to apply irrespective of whether you have or had not had PPP Eidl loans. Now, if you're a new applicant, you didn't apply in round 1, this is all new to you. You can see that February 2 is when you start. Here is the link that takes you direct to it below you. The grant application has many questions that you may feel, oh, I need to check that out. So a key piece of guidance for you is, before you start, have a look at the FAQ page, the frequently asked questions page, and feel comfortable with what this is telling you. And also have a look at Lendistry themselves are putting on either a webinar program or have a very detailed slide deck as background reading and information. And I will attach that with the links at the end that go into this slide deck so that you've got it all in front of you. I also recommend that you register for the upcoming webinar that Lendistry themselves are hosting on February the 1st. And they'll have the recording and slides ready for you on February the 2nd. So I'm really giving you a sort of taster to get to the crucial parts of this. So you've got 3 or 4 days to think about what it is you're going to do, how you're going to apply, so that you're ready for February the 2nd. An important question that's come up from a lot of businesses is saying, well, how did they decide on my application? Why me? Why not someone else? Well, it's based on a scoring system, and the scoring system is made up of the following: your geographic location, which is relevant to the impact of COVID-19, and it's fair to say that any business in Santa Clara County is covered. Secondly, the industry sectors most impacted by the pandemic, and Those sectors include restaurants, accommodation, general retail. Very important that they wish to target this money to those businesses who've really been most demonstrably or demonstrated the impact that COVID has had on their cash flows and profit and loss and viability overall. And third, underserved small business groups served by the state and supported through their centers, particularly women business owners, minority, people of color, veterans, and businesses located in low to moderate income and rural areas. And so the principle behind this is trying to target the money at businesses most in need. Now, these approaches don't always work in the way they were intended, but you can see what lies behind their decision is they're trying to ensure that the business that's most in need, that's been most impacted by COVID, has as good a chance of being able to secure a grant as anyone else. It's fair to say that this scoring criteria will probably be a very important part of any evaluation after the fund is closed, when people like the governor and the state look at how the money was distributed and whether this kind of approach of scoring was seen to be fair and objective and efficient. And those are big questions when you're trying to move this amount of money with such a large number of applications through a single system. How is the grant allocated to approved applications? It's based solely on your yearly gross revenues. So if you have annual revenues that are gross to $100,000, that's the income into your business over a 12-month period, then you would be awarded a $5,000 grant. Up to $1 million, it's $15,000, and up to $2.5 million, it's $25,000. And the yearly gross revenue is taken from your most recent IRS tax return, which is assumed to be 2019, but they do say that 2018 is also acceptable. So let me just finish here with some top tips in a sense. And I know Bianca and Ali have been very closely engaged in supporting businesses with round one. So they may well have some thoughts about additional tips and advice for you as the business applicant. I've already mentioned, please read through the FAQ before you apply. Get comfortable with, if you're not used to doing online applications, get a sense of the information that they're going to ask you. And in particular, prepare your documents before you start, because a number of businesses have found in round one, they started an application, reached a point where, I've now got to load this document on. They then come off their application to go and find the document and then try to log in the next day and find that they weren't able to do it well. And so you really want to see, in an ideal world, that you can start and finish the application in one go, and that you have your documents in front of you and you've scanned them and you've got them on a file that you can then upload into the Lendistry portal whilst you're completing your application. And I suppose what we've learned from seeing what's happened in round one is to try and get as much done first time. You have to use a Google Chrome web browser for the Lendistry platform. We've also discovered that you need to use the Incognito function, because that way it allows you, every time you then want to go back and update and complete the application, you don't get caught out in the problems with URLs and changing links. And there's been a whole bit of technical complexity that is way beyond me to try and explain, but apparently the solution to that is to be able to use the Incognito function on Google Chrome. The practical side is provide an email address that you regularly use. I'm sorry to say this, but a number of people have used an email address that they realize they've spelled incorrectly. So I know this is basic stuff, but please check that when you type in that email address, it is accurate. Provide a bank account that you have used within the last 90 to 120 days. Why are they asking that? Is because they do a kind of screening to check that the bank account that they would pay the grant award into is both A, legitimate, and B, being used. And the theory behind being used is if you're a business with a bank account and your business is a going concern, there should be income and expenditure, and therefore the bank account is being used. Use a PDF, preferably, of your original documents. Screenshots will not load, they don't work. It has to be a PDF. That's the way to go with uploading your document onto the Lendistry application platform. And then the most obvious thing, which I'm sure you will have all got, apply early, often in the evening because site traffic is lower, or if you're a bit of an insomniac, 3 o'clock in the morning is probably ideal, but I don't recommend that. But it's pretty obvious that from the hours of 9 till 5, that's when most people will be logging in. That's when the traffic will be at the highest. That's when the system will be under maximum pressure in terms of working at the right speed and being able to accept documents, etc. So these are the kind of tips that I suggest that you may wish to consider as an applicant. Ali, have I forgotten anything? I must have forgotten quite a bit there. I've tried to capture most of the points here. Is there anything, Ali, you would like to sort of add in at this point before we get into the Q&A?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
I'm just getting confused because we've done so many webinars lately. Now we're getting questions about the PPP, and I'm like, I don't think this is the PPP today.
No, it's not PPP, but I will happily take those questions on. Let's try and make sure we can give every business participating today an answer to their question. I can see we've already got 22 questions. Bianca, I feel guilty that we haven't given you some space. Is there any points that you'd like to highlight before we get into the Q&A?
No, not at all. Thank you. No, I don't need any space. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's have a look at the questions. I can see we've got 25 questions. Layla has said, I called Lendistry, talked to a rep. She was kind and informed me that since I did not get a denial letter, I am in good standing to be considered for the grant. My question is, am I eligible for round 1 or 2? May I please know? Well, you've applied for round 1. If you don't get a denial letter, then you will be automatically considered for round 2. Would that be your view as well, Ali and Bianca?
I think what Bianca said earlier, some people are still getting funding through round 1. So I think they were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I think they're just, they wanted to get to everybody by the 22nd, the deadline that they were for round 1. But, I think if you haven't been denied, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the uncertainty in people's minds here, can't we? That you're kind of not quite sure what happened. You had a good call with the rep at Lendistry. I would say that if you didn't get the denial letter, you may well get a further letter with respect to the outcome of round 1. If you don't get a further letter, then you should automatically be considered for round 2 because they have accepted your application in good faith. Do you have anything to add on that one, Bianca?
No, I mean, I think because, this is part of the whole, spirit of the grant being not first come, first serve, is that as they work their way through and find that some business, perhaps was not able to, attach the correct documents or whatever, they went then to the next most eligible business, perhaps that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, let's move on. Layla, if you want to come back to us, please do so with another question. Candiel has said, I'm a licensed massage therapist, and as an independent contractor, I didn't have my business registration before March 1, 2020. That's when I registered my business in San Jose. Am I qualified to apply for the grant? My thought on that one, Candiel, is that were you running your business as a self-employed person prior to March the 1st, 2020? If you weren't, then that date counts against you because you have to have been actively trading prior to June the 1st, 2019. What do you think about that one, Ali?
I agree. If you weren't, if there was no financial transaction showing that you were some sort of business as of June 2019, then you wouldn't qualify for this grant.
Okay, yeah. So I think the date there is very important. Candiel, if you were acting as a business in a different kind of entity, you weren't an independent contractor, you were something else, you were self-employed, but earning money, which I think critically appeared in your IRS tax return as income earned through your business activities. I'm not familiar with the IRS term, but it's probably, is that Schedule C 1040?
Yeah, Schedule C. If you if you filed a Schedule C in 2019, I think you should be okay, but I don't think she.
It could be, Candiel, we think if you were operating prior to March 1st, self-employed, claiming income, you're likely to be able to apply, but you may need to follow up and perhaps come back to you, Ali, at Sbdc and get another shot at that if you're not sure 100%.
Yeah, I'd have to look at how your taxes were done for 2019.
Yeah, interesting question, Candiel, thank you. Nalim, I received an email saying, congratulations, your application has been selected to move forward, but I've not received any money. Did I receive the grant? Interesting. Bianca, what do you think about that one?
I think it's a good sign that it said congratulations. There might be an extra step, perhaps some required supporting documentation like we were talking about depending on the situation, but I think that's a good sign and they should just keep their eyes peeled for any correspondence from Lendistry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Gaurav says, thank you for hosting this. How do we even get the link notification to apply? That will be in the slide deck. There will be a link here, Gaurav, and I can get you can go directly to Lendistry now if you're looking online, and you can click on the CA Relief Fund, and you can see and read all the information there. And I think there's a button there that says apply here, but of course you can't actually make that application because they haven't yet opened. We're not yet at February the 2nd. Is that, would that be correct there, Ali? Is there anything you want to add to that?
Correct. You can't access it unless the only thing you could access right now is if you already applied in round 1 and you're trying to upload additional documents.
Okay. Let's move on. Susan's question is, called multiple times, got disconnected after long holds. That's disappointing. I'm still concerned that they haven't fixed an error they created. I'm on the wait list from round 1. So my take on that is, if you're on the wait list, you must have received some information to tell you that you're on the wait list, and that means you'll be automatically considered for round 2. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Ali or Bianca?
No.
Okay. Moving on, Kinman has said, are small landlords eligible to apply? Oh, that's a good question.
I have to be a Schedule C.
Yeah, because I've seen somewhere that a lot of landlords claim their income as Schedule E, which is the passive income, isn't it, rather than the business income? Is that the right way of describing it?
Yes. Yeah.
So
if you filed a Schedule E, you wouldn't qualify. Okay,
Kinman. So if you're a landlord that claims your income on Schedule C, you're likely to be eligible to apply. Tim says, is this slide only for non-profits and URL? Maybe I need to check the URL, Tim, in case we've incorrectly put that on there. Thank you for spotting that. Let me have a look. If we need to correct it, we will when we send that slide deck out. Pamela asks, the first round of PPP was forgiven. Is it possible the second round might also be forgiven? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You have to follow the rules. And as you know, with PPP, provided a minimum of 60% of the loan is used for payroll purposes, and that has its own definition. And the remaining 40% is used for the other allowed uses, and there's a list to those. Then you can get 100% of that loan forgiven, both for round 1 and round 2. Oh, good question from Mohammed. What is the definition of, quotes, being affected by COVID-19? Bianca or Ali, do you have any views on that question?
Well, you're going to have to show that there was some kind of negative impact financially.
Yep.
I don't remember for what percentage for this one. Is it 25% or am I thinking of PPP?
You're thinking of PPP, yeah.
But you are going to do a comparative. Is it quarter by quarter?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is a good time, isn't it, to know your different loans, funds, and grants. Yeah.
I mean, it is a good thing that we have so many choices, but it's just kind of Bianca getting the correct information on which grant or program.
Bianca, do you have a view about what it means to be affected by COVID-19?
Yeah. So could you just repeat the question just so I'm clear?
What is the definition of, quotes, being affected by COVID-19? Ali's answer says really it's being affected financially, that you lost income as a result of COVID.
Yep, that's right. Lost income. If perhaps you had to reduce employees' hours or eliminate any kind of employees. I think even certain expenses for COVID, so like a certain amount of PPE or something like that, anything that shows that COVID negatively impacted you. I think the requirements are a lot less strict than the PPP requirements are.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Mohammed, if you want to come back to us with another question on that, that's fine. But I think we're saying there's no specific catch-all percentage you have to meet or a threshold. You just have to demonstrate you have been impacted. Anonymous question: if I received a loan in round 1, can I apply for round 2? Well, if it's with respect to the California Relief Fund, no. It's one business, one grant. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about PPP, which is sort of Ali and I have to sort of jump between this at times, then yes, you can apply for a round 2 PPP. But if you're referring to the California Relief Fund, no. One business, one grant. Enrique asks, I received an email to be included in the waitlist for round 2. Will that mean I'm automatically approved? No, I don't think it does mean you're automatically approved. I think it means you're given a second bite of the cherry. You're given a second review in the context of everyone else who applies. What we don't know at this point, which is kind of frustrating at one level, but inevitable, is that we don't know of the 300,000 plus successful applications, the status of those 300,000 applications, which ones were treated as successful, which ones were rejected, and which ones are on the wait list to go forward into round 2. I don't know, Bianca, if you've got any update on that.
I'm sorry, Vic. I'm trying to hear. I don't have my headphones in. Can you say that again?
Yeah, do you know how many of the 300,000 plus applications in round 1, how many have been successful? Do you have any figures? Do you have any breakdown on who's been successful, unsuccessful, or in the wait list for round 2?
Yeah, so some business owners not in compliance, at least 25. Okay, so there were over 300,000 applicants. We're expecting that obviously, 20 to 30% or less are going to actually be funded by this loan. So not all of the applicants are going to be funded. 25% of the applicants were waitlisted. So all of that to say, no, I don't have a firm answer.
That's okay. I mean, you've given us a pretty good insight there, haven't you? That you're basically saying 20-30% will have succeeded, which could be somewhere between 60 and 100,000 applicants.
Yeah.
25%, which is kind of somewhere around 75,000 applicants are in the wait list, and the rest, I'm sorry, have been unsuccessful.
I'm sorry, I should clarify. 25% of the applicants are waitlisted because they applied more than once.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. Thank you. Very good. Thanks very much. I was late signing. Can I get a copy of the PowerPoint? Yes, you can. Absolutely no problem at all with that. That will be going out with an email within the next 2 days for you. Does it matter how much money we have in our bank account? No. No, it doesn't. With regards to PPP, I would love to apply for the second round. I definitely have lost more than 20. Any pointers? Layla, send me an email. My email is at the end of this slide deck. Take it down, and I'll send you a copy of the slide deck that Ali and her colleague Anne and I did 2 days ago on PPP that will give you all the pointers you need, particularly on issues of profit and loss statements, lenders, and all the other information that would be helpful to you in making an application. Katie says, I'm on the wait list. When I just logged in, Lendistry told me that I need to upload documents. However, every line item said that my upload is complete. Oh, I think you're going to have to go back to Lendistry. Only they can answer for their system.
Hey, Vic.
Yes, Bianca.
We actually were walking business owners through the application. We were funded to do that. And so one of the things that my colleague had noticed is that when you're uploading your documents, it's still going to say that you need to upload your documents, even if they're uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Right, Allie?
Yeah. But as long as you see it on there, you should be fine. Right,
Yeah,
Bianca?
It was like a coding issue, and there's no way for them to get rid of the thing that says pending upload document. But if you see them there, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of reassuring news, isn't it? That's good news in a strange way.
Yes.
I mean, I can see the anxiety a business owner would have, but actually what you've just said, Bianca and Ali, is so helpful because if you're the business owner, you think, I actually did do it correctly. I did get it done. I got my documents loaded. It's just the system's not telling me that.
And
Right.
yeah, absolutely. And that Lendistry is aware. That was something they learned, in the first week. Many business owners have that exact same problem, and they just were not able to change the coding. But I think they did add some kind of text somewhere, but they can't get rid of that pending document upload.
Right.
Well, they did send an email, I think, in between reopening, stating that if you've uploaded everything and you see your documents have been uploaded, but it still sits pending, you should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. To someone who doesn't follow these systems, you can imagine how people would get stressed by that point. But
Yeah.
It's fantastic to have both of you as experts be able to explain that. That was worth the webinar in itself, I think. So let's move on. My business started in February 2020. Am I ineligible? Yeah, you are ineligible unless you were undertaking business activity prior to February 2020. Are single member LLCs providing consulting services eligible for grants with no employees? Just a sole owner providing services? Well, I think the answer to that is yes, you are. Provided you are showing on your 2019 or most recent IRS tax return that you have Schedule C income. Would that be the right answer there, Ali, in respect of a single person LLC?
Correct.
Yep, thank you. I feel you're marking my homework, which is fine. That's good. Our business warehouse is located in San Jose, and we have a business license, but our mailing address is Santa Cruz. Is that a problem? No, not at all. You're all in California, and everything you do is in California, and therefore you're entitled to apply. And it's down to you whether you want to use the Santa Cruz or the Santa Clara kind of access route on the Lendistry site. It's entirely your choice there. Mo asks, I did not apply for round one. Should I apply for round one or round two? Now, if you're talking about the California Relief Fund, you're going to have to apply for round two. If you're talking about PPP, it could be both round one and round two, and you need to look at the PPP rules very carefully because there's a very, very tight window here of just 8 weeks effectively with PPP to be able to get that application accepted by a bank, to be able to spend the money and know you've used the PPP one and then make a subsequent second round application. It's a good point that we keep moving, lots of questions coming through. Mo, if you want clarification on the detail of that, because there's a lot of financial information, I do recommend you talk to Sbdc, Ali, and one of her colleagues on that, or one of the other technical assistance providers in the city. Tiana said, we did get stabilization fund for our daycare business. Can we still apply for this relief fund? Yes, you can. Yep, no problem with that. David's asked, I received notification that I'm automatically considered for round 2. Does that mean my application has been complete? Is it correct? From what you've said, Bianca and Ali, to earlier questions, I would say, yes, that does mean that if you've been automatically considered for round 2, then your application documents are complete. Would you confirm that, Bianca and Ali, or would you say there's a caveat to that?
I would be hesitant to I would just keep your eyes peeled for an email. We just know how things have been changing, and it's
Right.
possible that something else could change, but I would say that it's a good sign.
Okay. Similar question from Surinder. I've received a letter from Lendistry that I'm automatically moved from round 2. So just to echo what Bianca was just saying, that looks a good sign, but keep checking your emails regularly to see if there's any update from Lendistry. Naomi, what if I didn't finish my application for round 1, but I received an email that I've been added to the wait list? My application is not complete. Will I be able to go in and complete it still? Well, you should be from February the 2nd onwards, because the portal will reopen for applications to be received. Anything to add on that one, Ali or Bianca?
Actually, it's open for you to correct if you need to upload any documents.
Now,
yeah.
Very good. So that's a good tip, isn't it? That if you've got an application that you need to finish, get it done before February the 2nd, when there'll be a huge wave of new applications coming through, and the platform will be under a lot of pressure with the volumes. Yes. Very good.
It'll be crazy again.
Great. Yeah. Okay. You said, I'm trying to be polite, but you just said, yeah. Okay. Okay. I missed the first portion of the call. Is it being recorded? Yes, it is, and we'll be sending out a full recording to you with the slide deck within the next 2 days. Okay. David asks, would like to know the probability of getting the fund, even though based on the qualification, a company is completely qualified. Well, it all depends at one level, David, just how many applicants there are, because there's only so much money in the pot, as Bianca was suggesting, and based on these percentages, we don't know how many businesses are going to apply in round 2. So it's kind of difficult to be precise on the probability. I think you've got a chance, provided you've met the requirements of the application process and submitted all the documents, but we genuinely don't know whether it's like a 1 in 10 chance or a 1 in 2 chance. We just don't know. I think Bianca's been very helpful with some of the percentages she was able to provide us with as an answer to an earlier question. That's the kind of best we've got on that. I'm sorry we can't be definitive. We're in the middle of the process. Candile said, I've been in business for 13 years, in which case please apply. I claimed a home business, says Candile. Yes, I did file. Good, thank you. Mohit said, my construction business wasn't open in 2019, but we did a tax return for 2019 and opened on January the 12th, 2020. Oh, that's a good question, Mohit. In the application process, the key word there was actively trading prior to June 1, 2019. So you've kind of got to evidence something that you were actively trading. And I think from memory within the regulations, actively trading was that you generated more than $1,000 of business income that you were identifying in your latest tax return, the 2019 tax return. That would be my recall of the regulations. Am I correct there, Ali?
Yeah, I would look at your 2019 tax return. Do you have a Schedule C, or how is your tax return completed?
Yep. Good question, Mohit. Very good. Mary Lee's asked, address link to the Lendistry application. That will be in the slide deck as a link, but you can look it up directly if you've got access to, can go online either with your cell or a laptop now and have a look at the Lendistry website. Pamela says, I don't actively have have a current account because my business has not been operating due to travel industry restrictions. Will this disqualify me if I'm pre-approved when they ask for my bank info? Oh,
What does she mean? It's not active. Did you close it?
I think, Pamela, we'd like to know a bit more information there on the status of your bank account.
I mean, if you're just not, because of COVID, you're not generating income, as long as it's still open, I think you should be fine.
If you've got no business bank account, I think it could be that Lendistry have got no basis for making the loan payment to you in the event you were successful.
Bianca, is that you asking questions?
No.
This is where Bianca tricks us up by asking us her own question. Is it an exam question, Bianca? If we don't get the phone number right, we have to pay a fine.
What's going on?
Okay, yeah, please put the Lendistry information up, Bianca. That would be great. Motu says, I'm a sole proprietor business until September 2020. I then formed a business partnership, make the company an LLC. Is the company eligible to apply for a grant? Yes, you are. I mean, the fact you're in business and you change the legal entity shouldn't prevent you from making an application. Mehran asks, I'm the owner of a small car dealership and I did not apply first time round. And I do have my 2019 tax returned. Am I qualified for round 2? And will they qualify me for the larger loan with the low interest? Okay, there's sort of 2 or 3 things in there. Yeah. But first of all, if you didn't apply first time round for the California Relief Fund, yes, you can apply round 2, which opens next week for 1 week only. So you're in a position to make an application. If you're looking at loans with low interest rates, then you're either looking at something like the Paycheck Protection Program, commonly known as PPP, or you might be looking at the SBA approved EIDL funding program, or there may be alternative government or state-backed loan funds like the California Rebuild Fund that I know Bianca has been very actively promoting to business, as well as Ali and other organizations over the course of the last month. So I think you've got to just separate that one out, Mehran. Difference between the grants and the loans. Ostensibly, California Relief Fund that we're going through today is a grant program and it's non-repayable. It's not a loan and there's no interest. It's only with things like PPP and EIDL and Rebuild Fund that you have fixed interest rates and fixed loan repayment periods. Okay. Lots of questions coming through. Lots of questions coming through. Susan's asked, I got my first PPP application through Bluevine, but have not gotten anything about forgiveness. We're going to cover loan forgiveness in the next week or 2. The SBA have just issued a new loan form. If your loan was under $150,000, and in particular, if it was under $50,000, then you should be looking at the simplified loan form. Check it out on the SBA website. And if you need more advice or information on that, either come back to me or go back to Ali at the Sbdc for more information on that, Susan. PPP loans were forgiven, but they were subject to taxation. Is this the same for the second round of PPP and or for the grant program? So this is really about taxable income, isn't it? And I thought PPP is not going to be considered as taxable income, but the California Relief Fund grant program is taxable income. Is that your understanding, Bianca and Ali?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Saeed said, I paid yearly business tax to the city of San Jose for my rental house. The rent will be out there. I lost 4 months of rent. I need grant to repay. Okay, well, essentially, Saeed, if your business is renting commercial residential property and that income from the residential property is classified on your IRS tax form as Schedule C, then that's active business income. You can apply for the California Relief Fund. If it is Schedule E investment income, then no, you can't. So check with your tax preparer or CPA if you need more information on that point. Another PPP question. Clearly, this is a popular theme, isn't it, Ali? Can you apply for PPP if you do not have employees and use independent contractors? Yes, you can. And there's a whole set of regulations about how you identify your income that, again, will be reflected in your 2019 tax return and your 2020 P&L.
So for independent contractors, you cannot claim them.
Right.
But you can claim yourself because they can apply on their own.
Yes. So it's to avoid double dipping, isn't it? That effectively
Yes.
the same people get to claim twice for the same, same program. Okay, got it. Who can help me complete an application for a PPP loan, says Jazz? Well, that's one of our technical assistance providers, of which Sbdc, I think, is the leading expert on PPP loans. So I would contact them, or if you're more comfortable using a tax preparer or a CPA who's familiar with an application process, because a PPP loan is actually administered and approved directly through a bank and a financial institution, not the government, not the city, and not an independent provider like Bianca or Ali's organization. So you're going to have to go via a bank, whether that's an online bank or a bank that you can actually walk in and speak to someone in the branch. Can you send me the link to begin the application process? Yes, that will be in the slide deck, Gabriel. Raphael's asked, we applied for the first grant, but we didn't receive anything. Should we apply for the second grant as well, or should I just wait? Thank you. Well, I would wait until February the 2nd, and if you've heard nothing and you're uncertain, reapply would be my take on that. Bianca, you've probably got more insight than anyone else, I suspect, on this question.
Can you repeat it for me?
Of course. Raphael applied for the first grant, but didn't receive anything, I presume information. Should they apply for a second grant as well, or should they just wait?
Oh, so basically, would applying more than once hurt your chances? As we're seeing, I mean, if you have applied once, that should suffice. But if there was any issue with your last application, then you can go ahead and apply again, understanding that that does tend to put people into the waitlisted category.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make sense? Did I answer that properly? Okay.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Let's move on. I didn't receive an approval for my California Relief Fund. I was put on the wait list. Can I go back to my application and change it for the better? Like maybe change my uploads for the better if needed. So that's someone who wants to update the information they've already been provided. Is there an advantage and a disadvantage to that approach? What do you think, Ali and Bianca?
I would be afraid of you removing something.
Yeah.
I mean, if something's missing and then you upload it, then that's one thing. But if you go back and delete something and then you're not able to re-upload it, I would leave it as it is. But obviously, it's up to you. I don't know where you're at on the application process. I'd have to see it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that one, Bianca?
I agree with Ali. She would be the person to definitely go by in terms of advice.
I'm feeling pretty cautious about the California Relief Fund. If you completed all the documents first time round, I would be reluctant to change anything.
Yeah.
Particularly after February the 2nd.
Yeah.
Anonymous question. My company didn't cut paychecks to us, but we rely on the bonus out of our operational profit, but our revenue reduced to zero. I'm sorry to hear that. And certainly don't have any profit due to COVID. In this case, are we qualified to apply for PPP? Well, you're really comparing 2020 to 2019. So if you had income and profits in 2019 and you had none in 2020, particularly on a quarter by quarter basis, then are you qualified to apply for PP? My sense of that would be on balance, yes. But you would need to, I think, talk to someone in detail about that, whether that's your tax preparer, CPA, or come to Sbdc and have a one-to-one consultation. Would you add anything to that, Ali?
I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. My company didn't cut paychecks to us. The bonus out of our operational profit. So is this the owner?
Do they mean like as a bonus? I mean, do they mean they've taken draws?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
what they
I
mean.
think that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you should apply. I think you should be fine because you're showing, and I don't know if this is the first draw or second draw, because if it's the first draw, you won't have to show the 25% reduction, but it looks like this is more than 25% if you're in the second draw. So I think you should, I don't ever discourage people not to apply. Yeah, I think you should apply.
Okay. You can see how this gets quite complicated for people, can't you? The uncertainty.
Yeah.
Moving from the round 1 to the round 2. Yeah.
But I think it's with the PPP, it's a little bit more forgiving right now because you can actually go and speak to someone and make changes to your application as needed. Whereas with the grant, it's pretty much if you've uploaded everything, it is what it is.
Okay, lots of questions coming through. Susan asks, if you've been waitlisted, can you apply more than once? I think the logic is no, it's one business, one application. I don't think you need to do anything more. If you know that you've received official communication from Lendistry telling you you're on the wait list, then you will be automatically considered with all other applicants in round 2. Would you add anything to that one, Bianca?
No, I don't have anything to add to this one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. William asks, I don't have any employees. I own 2 businesses. I got paid substantially less. I've been impacted significantly. Am I allowed to apply twice, one under each business? That's a good question. I thought the answer to that would be no. It's
No.
one business owner, one business application, not that you might have 4 or 5 businesses and you're allowed to make 4 or 5 applications.
And I'm assuming this is for the relief grant.
Yeah. Yes.
So, okay, so the first one, William, because there seems to be similar questions for William and Anonymous. So for William, I would choose the business with the higher gross income.
Right.
And then that's where you're going to show, you're going to do your comparative, and that you'll be able to, when you look at the scale, know how much you're be able to ask for.
Right.
Or you're eligible for. You can't ask for it. They'll tell you what you're eligible for.
Yeah. If you go back to the thresholds, if you had
Right.
one, let's make a number up. That if you had one business where your total annual revenue was $95,000, then and you were successful, you'd get a $5,000 grant. And if your other business was $105,000 and you were successful, you get a $15,000 grant. So your logic, Ali, is absolutely spot on, isn't it? You need to pick the business that had the highest annual receipts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this sounds like I have 2 business licenses with City of San Jose. One is an independent contractor that works from home, and the second is as a landlord for one home. Again, which one is this actual Schedule C?
Yep, very important distinction, yes.
And then which one has the higher revenue if they're both Schedule Cs?
Because it could be the landlord income is Schedule E, not C.
Correct.
So yeah, follow the logic.
And you know you can't apply twice.
Yep. Will asks a question that's come up before that I know Bianca responded to. If all of our documents are successfully uploaded, this is California Relief Fund, there seems to be some sort of glitch. And I think what Bianca explained earlier was, yes there is, but the system is even if it's not telling you, it's accepted those documents. Would that be a good summary, Bianca?
Yes, that's a great summary.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion on uploading documents? Like, what is Lendistry looking for to approve? Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? It's like saying, is there a sort of insight here that says if I put this type of document up, I've got a more chance of being successful? I don't think there is one, but I'm curious to know.
No, just make sure you're not doing JPEG, you're doing the PDF, you're following best practices. It's all there on their guidance. make sure whatever they're requesting, that's what you're uploading.
Thank you. Let's move on. Julie has asked the question, did Ali say that 25% of applicants were waitlisted because they applied twice, question mark. I applied twice only because I received an email that said SBDC was overloaded and I needed to reapply. Now I see my complete application on Lendistry. Am I okay?
Yeah, you should be fine. If you received an email that told you, because some people couldn't find their applications at all and they were told to reapply.
Right.
So I didn't say it was 25% of applicants were waitlisted. I believe that was Bianca, but I believe Bianca. So,
yeah, I mean, that's what Bianca was saying, that she thought she had an estimate that 25%. So, you know, if you had 300,000 applications plus across the state, then that's somewhere in the region of 75,000 different businesses in the state are on the wait list for round 2.
yeah.
And also, I mean, so the Small Business Development Center portal, I think for like a day and a half was completely shut down, as you both probably recall,
Right.
just because it was so overloaded. And each application does indicate which partner was used. So I imagine folks that were directed to reapply because the entire partner portal had crashed, I'm sure that that would be something that they would be able to see and take into consideration.
Yeah, because SBDC was overwhelmed, they were also being redirected to other of the community partners to go through because we just had so many people, it crashed for a whole day.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Enrique asks, if you are approved for this grant, when will I be receiving the funding? I suppose the cheeky answer would be soon. Bianca, do you have an answer on what the timescale is for the processing of payments within the grant fund to the successful applicants?
Let me look at these notes and I want, because I think I have a correct answer to that. I just want to refer to these notes really quick.
For some memory reason, I don't know why I'm saying it, but I think they said somewhere around within 4 weeks of notification, but please don't hold me to that. That's kind of from something I was reading a few days ago. I'm self-employed, Helen says, and an international trader. You have to be under $2.5 million to apply, yes. Okay, so you had a really good 2019, you were over that figure, but in 2020, you're right down. Can I apply or not? That's a great question. So you had a dramatic impact. I think that 3 million figure is a problem. What do you think, Ali?
Yeah, because they're looking at your tax return for 2019, that might be a red flag for them.
Yeah.
Hey, Vic?
Yes.
Just addressing the question that was before. So I'm reading this from Lendistry notes. The 344,000 applications, approval notifications will go out January 15th through January 22nd. They have to go through a final validation process and then you received funds. So Friday, you can expect within 5 days. It is an ACH and they normally get it on Monday or Tuesday, but folks should plan for 5 days because they don't unfortunately control the banking system.
Absolutely understood. Yeah, yeah. So the good news here is that it could be that sometime next week.
Yep.
Yeah, thinking about that. Very good. Thank you. That's really helpful advice. Thank you, Bianca. Well, I'm sorry, Helen, but I think you may be knocked out by your success in 2019 relative to your difficult year in 2020. William asks, to add to my question, I got here a little late. I'm an outside contractor for a school district. Well, as an outside contractor, if you're self-employed or a sole proprietor, provided you meet the eligibility criteria in terms of your annual earnings for 2019 as reflected in your tax return, you're eligible to apply. Some anonymous question, doing the math, the CA Relief Fund is dramatically underfunded. Will this be further funded to meet all of the demand? Not quite sure that it is underfunded in the sense, I see, you mean actually not everyone who's eligible may not get a grant. Is that, I guess that's what you're really saying. Will this be further funded? My sense of this, Bianca, is that the governor and the state are very supportive of the principle of wanting to put more money into this type of fund, but it's part of a very detailed budgetary process that they're currently embarked upon to decide the budget for the state. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, so the governor is supportive of an additional 500 million into the program, which would bring the COVID relief grant program to a total of 1 billion. However,
Yep.
that's just the governor's proposal. And the state is supportive of additional relief to small business owners. It's just a matter of how that's going to take place. So there has been, there's a bill currently underway to provide some 1.6 billion to small business owners. How that will be distributed in a grant is still to be seen. If
Right.
that would be on top of the 500 million still remains to be seen, if that would take its place. So I think it's safe to say, folks are definitely considering, both the legislature and the governor is considering additional help. It's just what kind of form that will take. But if it's through the budget process, the 500 million, we can expect, if that takes place and Lendistry is used and everything is just as it is now, in early summer, 2 more rounds to take place. But there's a lot of, if ands or buts about that whole process.
Okay, so I think we can't be confident because it's a political process, but I think there's a sense of mood that the governor and the state would like to respond to the demand. Yeah, okay. Sorry, we can't be definitive on that one. Miguel asks, is there a new EIDL? Well, there is a new EIDL in that the SBA, who are responsible for EIDL, are looking to reintroduce their advanced grant program, but they're going to do it when they're going to review first all the applications they received last year and consider those first before they reopen it to any other business. And the EIDL loan is the long-term up to 30-year loan, and the applications can be made now directly to the SBA on the SBA website. Miguel asked a really good question. Would it be possible to hold the seminar in Spanish? It's a great question. The city is currently looking at how we can provide this information in multiple languages, particularly Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. I think the reality is we're probably unlikely to be able to hold this specific seminar in Spanish, and I will be trying to provide an update on that in the future. It's a good question, Miguel. I'm sorry I can't give you a definitive answer now, but certainly the city is very interested in wanting to broaden out this kind of webinar offer into different languages.
And then, if you need help in a language to apply, you can choose a language application through their portal. And then you could also contact SBDC. We have a Spanish, an entire team that could assist you if you're looking for support with your application.
Great answer, Ali. Thank you very much. Carl says, I don't have a small business account. I just use my checking account. Do I qualify for PPP? You can apply for a PPP with your checking account, but you will have to provide your IRS tax returns and meet all the other criteria, Carl, that are required under the PPP program. Anonymous, I have a home daycare. Can I apply? I've been in business for 10 years. Apply for the California Relief Fund. Is there a question in there, Bianca, about the legal status of a home daycare business? If it's for profit, that's fine. If it's a non-profit, is it only certain types of non-profit, or is daycare, there's no restriction on daycare businesses?
I don't think that there's a restriction on daycare businesses if they're, in one's home. I think it would, no, I don't think that there's a restriction. I think they should apply.
Okay, thank you. Enrico's got a different question. Will this grant be treated as non-taxable income? I thought it will be treated as taxable income, but
Yes, it's taxable.
it's taxable. Sorry, Enrique, bad news on that. But of course, it's taxable income in the context of all your income for the year.
Yes.
William has said, I'm in California, in the city, Santa Clara County, doing work at 5 high schools. I'm a small business sole proprietor. Logically, you can apply, whether that's for PPP, CA relief fund. If you're a business and you meet the eligibility criteria on issues like the threshold on annual receipts, then you're fine. Vic, can I make changes to my application without penalty? This is respect of the California Relief Fund. Yes, you can make changes. The penalty really is about system reliability rather than your chances of being successful or unsuccessful. And I think we're urging a sense of caution here.
Yeah.
If you want to make changes to your application, do so prior to the reopening of round 2, February the 2nd. Ali, do you want to say something on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And if all in doubt, I would email as well. Let them know that you feel that you need to make some changes and follow up with an email.
Mo has said, as a business that uses subcontractors, 1099s, can I apply for a PPP?
You can, but you cannot use them as part of your payroll.
That's the double dipping question again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sort of, I would say, Mo, that you should check in with the tax preparer, CPA, or contact Sbdc if you need to get into the nuance and the detail of your financial position. So in theory, Mo, yes, you can, but you can't count the subcontractors as part of the calculation. Where do I submit, says Marie, all the documents for the California Relief Fund? Well, it will be exclusively via the Lendistry platform. I don't know of any other option, isn't that right, Bianca? You have to use the Lendistry platform when you apply for the CA Relief Fund.
Yep, that's part of the way that the program was designed.
Okay.
Although they do, it's through Lendistry, but the portals all use different partners. So when you go to apply, it will bring you to choose, which partner you'd like to use, but ultimately it's all the same grant by the same administrator.
From what you've seen, Bianca, would you have a recommendation to businesses as to which is the most reliable route to make that application, or are they all the same?
Honestly, I think they're all the same in that they all go to the same portal. I think some business owners have had luck reaching out and getting questions answered by certain partners. I think that if you are in San Jose and you reach out to Ali Lopez or yourself, I think that folks are in great hands.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Someone said, I run an Airbnb and I haven't hosted. Well, that comes down to what you describe in your IRS tax return, whether that's Schedule C or Schedule E income, and all the other criteria, Pamela. Is it active business income or is it passive income? I think you've got to check in with a tax preparer and a CPA on that one, or come back to Ali at Sbdc to look at that. Mary Lee's asked, what is the Incognito function? Oh, that's the, okay. That's basically when you go online using Google, or if you and you click on, I think it's the top right hand corner. It doesn't record your search history. Is that accurate, Ali, Bianca? It's a way of avoiding having your search history kept on the device you're using.
Correct.
And so it doesn't remember. It doesn't remember the URL when you go back on to update anything, so that it gives you a kind of easier, cleaner access into the application portal. Are you recommending that, Bianca, to use the Incognito function?
Yeah, I mean, well, and thank you for explaining that. I wasn't totally clear myself. That I know is that that is absolutely part of best practices when using the portal. Lendistry asks that you use incognito mode, so that is probably why.
Mhm.
I think it's more to prevent any type of fraud or getting hacked.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It just for most sort of computer users, you don't generally use incognito, do you, or private or whatever it is. It's sort of that's almost like what teenagers do to avoid their parents knowing what they're looking at online. I mean, that's kind of
Typically, they don't want you to use incognito because they like to use the tracking and the cookies to see what
yeah,
you're doing.
yeah, yeah. Okay. For those of you with teenage kids, now you know how to stop that one. Okay. Okay, anonymous question. I got an email saying that after completing the application review process for the first round of the relief fund, I've been added to the wait list, automatically considered the second round. I wonder why my score is not high enough for the first round because my business is traveling in nature, which definitely got hit by myself and mine. Well, only Lendistry know what the process and what the decision making was there. Bianca, in terms of how they've handled the decision-making process to approve, reject, or waitlist, how have they handled such a volume? Is it all done electronically?
Yeah, it's done electronically, and the reason it's not first come first serve is that so they are able to take a holistic view at all of the applications that come in real time and apply them to a scorecard. And
Okay.
that scorecard includes demographic data, but also industry data. It's actually mostly industry data, as well as geographic data. And, but after looking at the details, they apply it to the scorecard and then apply it to the rest of the folks in the pool. And that's kind of how they are determining eligible or successful applications.
Thank you for explaining that, Bianca. In terms of the scoring criteria, are they all equal, or is one question carrying a higher score or higher weighting relative to the others?
We don't know exactly what they are,
Okay.
but I can tell you that industry is one of the most important ones, and industry and geographic, because as you know, in California, certain industries in certain counties are affected differently. So it's not enough to just say the industry, it's the industry based upon where you are and what your county's restrictions were like.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for explaining that. It's really good. Another anonymous question, trying to be proactive, I uploaded my business bank account. Shortly thereafter, when I logged in on Lendistry, I saw Plaid had access to all of my various family accounts at the bank in full detail. Oh dear, these accounts include oh dear, a lot of personal information, which you never intended to share. Is there anything I can do to prevent this breach of personal financial information? I think you've got to go back to Lendistry on that.
Vic, if they could send me an email, we have a direct contact with someone at Lendistry that can pull applications. That would be really helpful.
Okay,
I'll
well,
pop my.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Bianca. I mean, this was an anonymous question, so if you're still participating in the webinar and you've had all your private financial information shared in this way that is a breach of confidence, please contact Bianca at Small Business Majority. Her information and contact is on the slides that I showed you at the beginning. If that doesn't work, come to me. My email is at the bottom of the slide deck as well. Sorry to read that. Is it possible to see a sample application before logging on to know what to expect? Oh, that's a really good question, Mary. I don't think there is a sample application. Bianca or Ali, have you seen anything like that?
There is an application guide. So if you go through the guide, it does have some screenshots of the application.
Yep. Okay.
We're also walking through, folks. We have our own kind of demo login info, and we can share our screen and do it ourselves, and folks can watch us as we apply.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to send me the link to that, Bianca? And then
Yeah, as well, you have to actually share your screen, because it's like I'm a fake business owner and I type in my fake information, but they can see. We've found that to be helpful on all of our webinars, so folks know what to expect.
Right. Well, I was going to suggest the city will send out an email to every person who registered for this afternoon's webinar, and I could include in that email with a copy of the slide deck and the recording of this webinar, any other links that you in Small Business Majority think would be helpful for an applicant to look at, or if there's a forthcoming webinar or series of webinars that would help businesses to apply. If you send that to me by email, I can cut and paste it into the email that goes out to all the applicants, all the businesses that have participated this afternoon.
You got it.
Okay, thank you. Lots more questions. Let's try and whiz through them. Are you eligible to get funded in both rounds? No, you'll only get funded in one round. Susan says she just got over 20K in her PPP. Well done, Susan. Is Eidl a taxable income?
Is it the Eidl loan or the grant? So if it was the initial grant that you got in the first Eidl grant, that was taxable. This coming up Eidl grant is not. The loan is not.
Okay. So I think the answer is no, Enrique. But do check the fine print. Go and see a tax preparer or CPA if you want validation of that comment. Let me see, where else are we? California Relief Grant is the one through Lendistry. What was the other loan or grant Bianca is promoting you mentioned earlier? Bianca, I think I inadvertently said the California Rebuild Fund, which is a fund that Small Business Majority are promoting to business. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know why I cringe when someone says promoting, just because we're a so I mean, it's not as cheap as a PPP or an Eidl, I can tell you that, but it is more affordable than most other options out there outside of SBA loans. And it's the key terms are 4.25% over 60 months. So it is still a great product, and it is available on a non-emergency basis, meaning, you know, there's no rush to apply. And I'm happy to walk through folks through that loan. Many of the participants that have participated in the Lendistry COVID grant relief program are also participating in the Rebuilding Fund loan, but it's an entirely different product.
Okay, thank you for that. What's a better word than promote then, Bianca?
Educating.
Thank you. Right, very good. I think one day you'll get your revenge on me and put me on the spot. I think.
No.
William says, I'm not looking for paying, I'm looking to not pay back, in which case apply for a grant. Anything with the word loan in it means there is an element to which you have to repay. Only a grant does not require you to repay. And if you're successful with a PPP loan application, then potentially how you use it could be 100% forgivable, but that's all down to how you use that loan in the first instance. Okay. Rogelio says, I registered my business in April 2020. I have no employees. Am I eligible to apply? No, you're not eligible based on April 2020, but if you had a business or you're engaged in business activity prior to, I think I put the date up, June 2019, prior to, then yes, you can. William says, what loan would be best for me? Well, it depends whether you're looking for short or long-term loans, but generally speaking, my advice to business at the moment is the number one thing you should apply for is a PPP loan, because you can potentially get 100% of that loan forgiven. If you're looking for long-term low interest, fixed rate payments, look carefully at Eidl. And if you want short-term capital with fixed repayments, then as Bianca was saying, she would educate you into the California Rebuild Fund, all available online. You can check that out. I'd also want to do a plug for a platform called Lendistry that Bianca will be very familiar with, which provides you with a kind of a media online service that gives you rates in the marketplace for business loans. That should give you some good kind of background in terms of what's on offer. And also the SBA has an online platform for checking out loan rates called Lender Match as well. Have I missed out something there, Ali, in terms of how a business should do some research on available loans?
No.
Okay, thank you. Sayed asked the question, is renting a house considered a business? Again, that comes down to your tax returns and whether that's Schedule C or Schedule E. Schedule C is good. You can apply. Schedule E, no, it's passive income, it's investment income. No, you can't. Can we get a copy of the Q&As? It will all be in the recording of the webinar. I apologize, that may seem a bit random, and I suspect this webinar recording will go over 90 minutes. So it's a lot to look through or think through, but that's the only way we can do that at the moment. Naomi's followed up with a question that says, if I didn't finish my application for round 1, but received an email that I've been added to the wait list, my application is not complete. Will I be able to go in and complete it still? Thinking back what Ali said to an earlier question on this point, yes, you can. You can go in and add in any other details that you need to add in. Is that correct, Ali?
Correct.
Thank you. And it was before February the 2nd or when the round 2 opens. And I think what you were saying, Ali, is you could do it now before February the 2nd.
Yeah, as long as you've already have an application and a login, you can make some corrections now. Got it.
Thank you. Christopher asks, I own multiple businesses with multiple partners. Can each business apply using the, sorry, it's all moving around. Sorry. Let me go back to that.
It's at the top. Hi, Chris. Chris is my client.
Oh, very good. Yeah, Christopher appeared on the panel list when we started at 4, so I've got a soft spot for Christopher. Can each business apply using a different owner? Oh, that's a good question.
I would be very careful with that, but I understand your structure because I know you. But I think they're looking at 51% ownership, correct, Bianca?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, whoever has.
Except in the case of worker cooperatives, I believe. Is that?
Yeah, the co-ops.
Yeah, but a traditional, if you like, for-profit business, however it's structured, it's really down to who owns the stock and the shareholding here, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Anthony says, I've not submitted my 2019 tax returns. Can I use 2018 to apply?
Yes, this is for the grant, right?
Yes, for the grant.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Thank you. Susan asks, can I apply if both 2019 and 2020 are no income but expenses, Schedule C? Well, with the relief fund, it's kind of based, the principle of the grant is based on the assumption you did generate income in 2019, and then you were impacted by COVID and it was reduced in 2020. And that's why they set those thresholds of up to 100,000. So you kind of got to have done business trading above, I believe, the minimum threshold is $1,000. If you haven't done that, I suspect that you may not be eligible. Joe Maria's asked, what tax year is required? For the relief fund, I believe it's 2019. Is that right, Bianca?
2018 or 2019.
Thank you.
Whichever you've completed tax year.
Is it the one you have to hand or is it the most recent?
The most recent.
Thank you. Can a landlord who lost rent due to COVID apply? Again, that question's come up a few times before. This one's from Ming. And it depends if you've classified your rental income as Schedule C on your tax returns. Yes, Schedule E, no, I think is the shorthand for that. But do seek out advice for tax preparer if you want a more authoritative view on that.
May I ask a question, Vic and Ali?
Go for it.
I'm getting that question a lot, and I do recall some time ago coming across a program where landlords were not eligible, and I wonder if that's where that's coming from. Do you know where that's coming from? Whether landlords are eligible to apply for this fund? Were they ever ineligible for Eidl or something? I'm just trying to recall where folks are hearing this.
I think I may have seen it on Eidl, and I think I may have seen it on the Rebuild Fund.
Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a really difficult question here for the very small landlords who rely on their rental income for cash flow purposes, who are suffering. The bigger landlords, the big commercial landlords, this is more of a balance sheet item where they're protecting the value of the asset. Of course, cash flow is important, but it's not the most significant question. It's probably the number 2 question. So it's a very tough time for certain small landlords, particularly landlords who kind of, that is their exclusive or sole income.
Right. A lot of them are retirees.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, it adds to the fabric of communities and neighborhoods that these small landlords, we have room and space for small landlords to be able to sustain themselves. Yeah.
And it comes down to, because you're not considered a small business. If you're receiving passive income, you're not really in business, and that's how it's being interpreted. And that's why you don't qualify for a lot of these programs that are geared towards small businesses.
Thank you. Ming Ming has a follow-up question. Is the fund a forgiven loan or needs to be paid back? Well, if this is the California Relief Fund, you don't need to pay it back because it's a grant, and there's an important difference in between grant and loan. This is a grant, so if you're successful, Ming, no, you don't have to pay it back. We've covered the questions from Syed on landlords. Can they apply? That's Schedule C. Jazz asks, can someone help me fill out an application on Lendistry.com? I think the only advice I can give you there, Jazz, is to contact the Small Business Development Center with Ali and her team. They're very good and expert in these matters.
Yep.
Layla says, many thanks. I need to log out. Okay, good luck to you. Mohit's question is, my business was not operational in 2019, but opened in 2020. How can we go about obtaining the grant or applying for the grant? I think you might, it depends where you actually engaged in some form of business in 2019.
It's how your taxes are structured.
And how your taxes are structured, Mohit. Yeah. Again, if you need more detail into this, again, go and see a tax preparer, a CPA, or contact Ali at Sbdc, Mohit, and have a more detailed conversation about your circumstances here, because I think the date on the face of it may make you ineligible to apply for the California Relief Fund. Pamela asks, what is the Sbdc contact number? It's I think in one of the slides in the slide deck presentation, but Ali, you're very welcome to respond directly to that.
Yeah, it's on the slide.
Neil Emma said, I applied for an EIDL loan and asked for the same and they asked me for the same information 4 times. Is there a phone number I can get the status? Yes, there is. The SBA have a regional office where all the EIDL loans are assessed. And if you go directly to the SBA, if you check online, go to the SBA, the office I found very helpful and efficient is the San Francisco office. They'll be able to give you the direct contact details for where EIDL loans in the on the West Coast are assessed. Do you have a contact in the SBA, Bianca, on EIDL loans by any chance?
Yeah, it would be the San Francisco or
Office.
the Sacramento office.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I work with them all the time, as I'm sure you do, Ali, and you, Bianca, but I've never actually had a reason to call the call center that I know that they have, because I haven't made a personal application myself.
Yeah, you can, so the regional or the San Francisco or the Sacramento is just going to refer you to the disaster, SBA disaster offices. And I believe they do have one in Sacramento.
And the disaster office are the people that would handle the EIDL loan application, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the place to go if you want to know about EIDL. It's the SBA Disaster Loan Office based in Sacramento, and you can get their information off the SBA website or via the SBA San Francisco office. Very good, thank you. And what are our email addresses? That will be in the slide deck. Pamela asks again the same question about short-term travel host closed. Will this disqualify me for the PPP and the Cameo grant? No, it shouldn't do. No, because you've lost income in 2020. Okay, Pamela asks, why is EIDL high interest 3.75% where loans are much lower? That's what the federal government set them at when they agreed the program. It's not localized or discretionary. That's a uniform interest rate across the United States of America.
And where is she getting something lower than 3.75%? That's not a federal loan.
That's a pretty good, I always thought 3.7 was a pretty good rate, actually. I mean, when I was talking to some CDFIs that are, you know, very mission-driven lenders, and we were talking informally about interest rates, 6% and above was the kind of norm in the conversation.
Yeah, so Eidl is actually one of the better interest rates out there, and you have 30 years to pay for it.
Yeah. Bianca, do you know of what would be your favorite loan program at the moment in terms of interest rates that you would recommend a business to go for if they asked?
The PPP.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, very good. Because that's 1%, isn't it?
It's 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you know, but just to flag for some folks, if a PPP is attractive to them, there are debt relief programs for some of the SBA loans that have always been around, but have been kind of hard. But I think, Allie, you would know this, the SBA 7A and 504 still have, I think they have reduced requirements. I mean, I doubt it's super accessible, but I mean, don't they have some reduced requirements right now on top of the debt relief?
Yes, and the debt relief was extended through March, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if you're a business looking to expand, acquire an asset, buy a business, the 7A 504 program is very attractive. Yeah. Yeah. I have been asked whether the city could put on a webinar in the next month on 7A 504s. That will probably drive you nuts, Sally. Yeah.
We'll have to do 2 separate ones.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Okay. Naomi asks again, do you have to do, this is presumably the updating of original application onto the relief fund before February the 2nd when round 2 opens up? We're suggesting you do, simply because we think the volume of traffic from February the 2nd onwards may put extreme pressure on the site. So I think if you need to do anything, get it done now would be our view of this. Mohit says, follow-on question, I did file taxes in 2019 as we were in construction, did have payroll, would that be considered eligible? Well, on the face of it, yes, it would be considered eligible, but Mohit, but I would exercise a little bit of caution here and say, I think, talk that through with a tax preparer and a CPA or contact Sbdc if you need a more detailed conversation about these circumstances. But yeah, if you were filing taxes as Schedule C in 2019, in theory, I think you're eligible. Serinda says, could you please at a high level explain the difference between CA Small Business Advocates, Sbdc, and the CA Small Business? Okay, well, different things here. I think Sbdc is Ali's organization, and they provide free technical advice, as we've explained on the slides earlier. The Small Business Relief Grant Program is organized by the state through Lendistry, which has been the topic of this webinar. And you have to make that application when it reopens next week for 1 week only, from February the 2nd to February the 8th. California Small Business Advocates, that's the one that's got me stumped. Ali or Bianca, do you know the answer to that one?
Maybe the Office of Small Business for California. Is that the governor's office, maybe?
Oh, could be, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, can you say the name of it again, Vic?
California Small Business Advocates.
Yep, that's GoBiz. That's
Yeah.
GoBiz, right? That's who I think. So yeah, that's the governor's economic development team that specialize in supporting small business, and I think they are really the clients to Lendistry. They're the ones managing the millions of dollars that are going to Lendistry.
And then if you're in Santa Clara County and you're calling the governor's office to get technical assistance, they'll refer you to us at SBDC.
There you go. Very good. Okay. Pamela, last question to Pamela. Debt relief. My business is out of my home, mortgage in forbearance. Oh dear. Okay, I'm sorry. That is this reported on credit bureaus. I want to refi ASAP when I'm up and running again. I don't think I know how to answer that. I'm not. That's not my level of expertise, Pamela. Ali, can I ask you whether you would have any suggestions here about debt relief?
Debt relief. My business is out of my home and mortgage and forbearance and property with a credit card for the first time. So would I qualify? So debt relief is referencing SBA loans is what you're getting the debt relief from.
Okay.
Yeah, so this actually has to do with the SBA loans, not any other type of lending.
Okay. So is this your credit rating essentially?
No, so what they do is if you have an existing SBA loan that's not associated with a disaster, they will pay the principal and the interest rates for it. They originally were paying it through December of last year, but they've extended it until March of this year. So SBA is actually paying your loan for you.
Yep. It's quite an interesting topic, isn't it? The whole issue of the federally backed loan programs with 7As and 504s and EIDL. Yeah, okay. Pamela, I hope that was helpful to you. Do seek out a tax preparer or CPA if you can, or do contact Sbdc if you need a more in-depth conversation, or one of the other technical assistance providers in the city. We're here to help. And certainly, you know, our whole approach is to try and help as many businesses as we can through COVID and the stress and the pressures that this is putting upon many of you in terms of how you think about the future and your business and your needs. I think we've reached a conclusion with all in trying to respond to every question that has been asked of us. We have the slides here. Ali, I want to thank you so much, and Bianca, thank you so much for participating in this webinar and me getting away with chucking you all in at the deep end in answering some of these questions. Here is the Sbdc website for any business participant here. Let me just take you to the top tips again. So just to recap, just to finish off for businesses, my advice to you, our advice as a panel is have a look at the Lendistry site, look at the FAQs before you apply, familiarize yourself with the information they require. Only use Google Chrome as a web browser and use the Incognito functions. That seems to work more efficiently through the Lendistry platform, particularly if you need to save what you've done and go back in and at a later date. Provide the email address you regularly use. Please check it for accuracy. Bank account that you've used. PDF your documents and apply early or apply in the evening. I just want to say thank you to our panelists. Once again, thank you very much for all the participants today. I hope this has been a helpful webinar in preparing you for next week's round 2 of the California Relief Fund. There are additional webinars being hosted by different organizations in the state. We'll put that in the email to you over the course of the next 2 days, where you'll receive a copy of this slide deck and a link to take you to a recording of the webinar, so you have a complete picture. And if anyone has any need to want to contact me you're very welcome to do so. Here, my contact information is here, and please use it if you want me to respond to a specific question. I'm happy to do that. And here is the disclaimer, the program application, and all the other useful information that will form part of the slide deck that you will receive in the course of the next 2 days. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much indeed for taking the time out. We took nearly 2 hours to go through all of this. I do hope you found it of some use. Ali and Bianca, thank you very much indeed on behalf of the City of San Jose for participating in one of our regular webinars. And I wish all the participants and businesses every good luck in your application. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Ali. Look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Bye,
Thank
Allie.
you.
Bye, Bianca.